is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 new bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. Joining me today is from our EBC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Eliana.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, giving you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines.
I hope that
the United Nations condemned the Myanmar military's violent crackdown against anti-coup demonstrators as China's UN ambassador called for de-escalation, and American authorities sanctioned members of the junta leader's family.
The Chinese ambassador to the United Nations called Wednesday for a de-escalation in the crisis in Myanmar, where the junta has pursued a violent crackdown against peaceful anti-coup demonstrators.
And the U.S. announced sanctions against 2 adult children of Myanmar junta leader Min Aung Hlaing over the military coup and subsequent violence against protesters in the Southeast Asian nation.
117,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine to arrive in the Philippines by April.
First, the United Nations condemned the Myanmar military's violent crackdown against anti-coup demonstrators as China's UN ambassador called for de-escalation, and the U.S. authorities sanctioned members of the junta leader's family. Let's listen in.
I hope that with this statement there will be an increasing conscience in the military in Myanmar that it is absolutely essential to release all prisoners. It is absolutely essential to respect the result of the elections and to allow for a situation in which we move back to a democratic transition that was not a perfect one. I mean, we did not live in a perfect democracy in Myanmar. It was still heavily under military control in many aspects, which makes this coup even more difficult to understand. I mean, especially the accusations of electoral fraud by those that were largely in control of the country. But with all its imperfections, I believe that it is important to go back to where we were before the coup.
International pressure has mounted since the army ousted and detained leader Aung San Suu Kyi last month, triggering daily protests around the country. Calls for restraint have also grown more urgent as security forces have responded with an increasingly brutal crackdown involving tear gas, stun grenades, and rubber bullets, as well as isolated incidents of live rounds. The United States also applied fresh pressure with sanctions against Aung Pyoi Song and Tin Theeravitmon, 2 adult children of Myanmar junta leader Min Aung Hlaing. The pair have a variety of business holdings that have directly benefited from their father's position and malign influence, according to a U.S. Treasury statement. Close to 2,000 people have been arrested, and the death toll has climbed to more than 60 in a post-coup crackdown. Thousands of government workers across the country have been participating in a civil disobedience movement aimed at choking state institutions and paralyzing the economy. The movement has resulted in hospital disruptions, bank closures, and empty ministry offices.
The U.S. and British embassies in Yangon said there were reports of students and civilians being surrounded by security forces in North Okkalapa. We call on those security forces to withdraw from the area, release those detained, and allow people to depart safely, the U.S. Embassy tweeted. Video footage from North Okkalapa showed protesters fleeing under fire At least one person appeared to be seriously wounded. As demonstrations continued in towns and cities across the country, the U.S. Embassy in Yangon condemned the police action against innocent people. It urged security forces to withdraw and to release all of those arrested. The United States also applied fresh pressure with sanctions against Aung San Suu Kyi and Kim Kirit-Tepon, two adult children of Myanmar junta leader Min Aung Hlaing. The pair have a variety of business holdings that have directly benefited from their father's position and malign influence, said a U.S. Treasury statement. The coup and crackdown have triggered international condemnation.
Meanwhile, the Chinese ambassador to the United Nations called Wednesday for a de-escalation in the crisis in Myanmar, where the junta has pursued a violent crackdown against peaceful anti-coup demonstrators. Now it's time for de-escalation. It's time for diplomacy. It's time for dialogue, according to Zhang Jun, after the UN Security Council agreed to condemn Myanmar's military over its actions since ousting civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi last month. Diplomats told AFP that the statement agreed by the Security Council strongly condemns the use of violence against peaceful protesters, the second show of unity on Myanmar in just over a month for its 15 members, including China. Mr. Zhang said that China has participated in the statement negotiation in a constructive manner. He said it's important the council members speak in one voice. We hope the message of the council would be conducive to easing the situation in Myanmar. He said the international community should create an enabling environment for relevant parties in Myanmar to address differences under the constitutional and legal framework. China's friendship policy toward Myanmar is for all the people of Myanmar. China stands ready to engage and communicate with the relevant parties and play a constructive role in easing the current situation. The junta leader's children, Aung San and Kin Kirit-Tepon, have a variety of business holdings which have directly benefited from their father's position and malign influence, according to their statement. As a result of the sanctions, any assets they may have in the U.S. will be frozen. The United States has already imposed sanctions on top figures, including Min Aung Hlaing, the military chief and new ruler of the country, and other leaders of the junta. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in a statement said, quote, Burmese security forces at the behest of military leaders have brutally and lethally attacked unharmed protesters. Since the coup, we condemn these horrific attacks. He added that the latest sanctions were to promote accountability for those responsible for the coup and to target those who benefit financially from their connections to the military regime. Meanwhile, security forces for Myanmar's military regime are using battlefield weapons on unarmed protesters and carrying out premeditated killings orchestrated by their commanding officers, according to Amnesty International today. The human rights group collated graphic video clips posted on social media to document what it called a nationwide killing spree in the week since the military seized power on February 1. These Myanmar military tactics are far from new, but their killing sprees have never before been live-streamed for the world to see, according to Joanne Mariner, Amnesty's Director of Crisis Response, in a new report. These are not the actions of overwhelmed individual officers making poor decisions, she said. These are unrepentant commanders already implicated in crimes against humanity, deploying their troops and murderous methods in the open. Amnesty presented analysis of 55 videos recorded from February 28 to March 8 in cities across Myanmar, including Mandalay and Yangon. In one Facebook clip dated February 28 from the southeastern city of Dawei, a soldier is seen handing his rifle to a police officer next to him. The policeman takes aim and shoots before personnel around them erupt in apparent celebration. The footage was recorded from a property above the street. In the background of the audio, women can be heard sobbing. Not only does this incident show a reckless disregard for human life, making sport of shooting live rounds at protesters, it also reveals deliberate coordination among security forces, according to Mariner. Another clip taken off Twitter from March 3 shows personnel leading a man towards a larger group of security forces in Yangon. The man appears to be in custody and is offering no visible resistance when an officer beside him shoots him. He is left on the road, apparently lifeless, for several seconds before officers dragged him away. Amnesty said some military units had been drafted in from the restive ethnic minority areas of Myanmar, where many atrocities are said to have occurred, and also alleged extrajudicial executions of protesters. ASEAN in Focus will be right back. Stay tuned.
To prevent the health risks from face-to-face and over-the-counter financial transactions, Filipinos are shifting to digital payments. This is aligned with the roadmap of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to convert at least 50% of the total transactions to digital channels and increase to 70% the number of Filipino adults who are paying or transacting in the formal financial system. In this episode, we will talk about accelerating financial inclusion and innovation.
Being able to leverage technology that already exists and can be customized to your needs is probably one of the biggest steps I can give these financial institutions, not just small ones, but the big traditional banks.
Aradhna Sharma, Regional Sales Director of Advance AI, will also talk about digital transformation among banks and financial services players in this week's episode of Open for Business.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times. Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin, at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng pinabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon at inspirasyon ang hapon mo sa Afternoon Power. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Sasabay sa inyong tanghalian ang inyong Happy Time Barkada at 12 noon. Alamin ang mga pangyayari sa ASEAN nations, ASEAN in Focus at 2 p.m. Ang inyong paboritong awit komentaryo kasama si Leo Obligar sa Piskante ng Bayan. At mga balita sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa, hatid sa atin sa Aguila Probinsya. Siksik ang hapon mo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, ang inyong Afternoon Power sa Net25. Broadcast journalist Wayne De La Fuente returns on Philippine television and radio to deliver top stories and engage with the country's policymakers, shapers, and movers. Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita alas 7 ng umaga mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Wayne De La Fuente sa Balit Talakayan.
An excellent performer.
Grabe, napakahusay.
Napatunayan mo sarili mo na talagang kaya mong kumanta in front of the television.
The very best!
Magaling na coach ang forever mo.
Ito po ang Taging sa Nigaling Part 2 Singing Edition.
Alamat, handa!
Bigla ka na nung umalis, hindi ka nang paalam. Girl,
sanay noon pa lang agad mo nang inamin. Madali lang naman akong kausapin. Wala akong pake, hindi ka kawalan sa akin.
Sakit na yun, si Mo. Yakoy dyan.
Ako si Kian. Ini si Tomas.
Ako yung RG.
Si Balfer. Si Gami. Ako si Alas. At Gumi.
Alamat! Abangan niyo po kami bilang guest performers sa Letters and Music.
Ngayong darating na Sabado, March 13, 1 to 2 p.m.
Siyempre, dito lang sa Net25.
See you!
Bigla ka na lang umalis, hindi ka na paalam. Siguro ang pag-ibig mo sa akin ay pansamantala.
Samahan sina Wedge Kujamat,
itong balitang panggising sa ulo ng mga balita.
Apple David,
Sa 60 katao ang isinugod sa ospital.
Phoebe Publico
Economic sabotage ang mga tiwaling negosyante.
at Cristel Fesalbon
Pagpresyo ng gulay, makakausap natin
para ihatid sa inyo ang mga kaganapan at pangyayari sa bansa at sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Mga napapanahong isyu ng bayan. May balitang sports, entertainment at iba pang kaalaman. Simula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 ng umaga sa paborito nyong morning show, Pambansang Almusal, dito sa Net25.
Pambansang Almusal.
Salamat musika. Lahat ng panahon, maaasahan ka. Salamat musika. Itong munting mundo ay napapasigaran. Salamat musika. Salamat musika. Salamat musika.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. The National Task Force Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Vivencio Dizon said some 117,000 doses of coronavirus disease 2019 vaccine from Pfizer-BioNTech will arrive in the country next month.
Opo, nangako po ang World Health Organization na darating din po ang susunod na mga tranches ng AstraZeneca na manggagaling sa COVAX facility. Kaya umaasa po tayo na mas marami dun sa 1.4 million na Sinovac ang matatanggap natin ngayong buwan ng Marso. Hopefully po, umabot tayo ng mahigit 2 million ngayong March. Nag-commit na po ang WHO na darating po yung 117,000 doses ng Pfizer ngayong Abril sa susunod na buwan. Kaya malaking bagay din po ito, gagong-gago na para sa ating mga healthcare workers na priority nating matapos hanggang sa buwan ng Abril at Mayo. Opo, aabot po ang Pfizer. No? Kung darating po ito ng Abril, kasi sa pangako ng WHO, aabot po ito para sa ating mga healthcare workers.
Meanwhile, Dizon said the government has not yet released any budget for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines as those that arrived in the country were donations from the Chinese government and the COVAX facility. He added the budget will be released once the order made by the government will arrive, including the 1 million Sinovac Coronavac doses that will come in this month.
Meanwhile, in the island nation of Maldives, it has received its first vaccine shipment of Oxford AstraZeneca from COVAX. Joining us live is Steffi Dewan. Hello, Steffi.
Hi, Alma. Good afternoon. Yes, that's my latest news for today. Maldives received the first shipment of COVID-19 vaccinations containing 12,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from the COVAX facility on Sunday. The COVAX facility, which aims to ensure rapid, fair, and equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines worldwide, accepted Maldives' application to secure vaccines for 20% of the country's population in December 2020. Co-led by World Health Organization or WHO, Gavi, and the Coalition of the Epidemic Preparedness Innovations or CEPI, COVAX has targeted to procure and deliver 2 billion doses of approved vaccines by the end of 2021. This is intended to cover 20% of the population of each participating country. Maldives was listed among the 92 low and middle-income countries eligible to access COVID-19 vaccines through the COVAX Advanced Market Commitment or AMC. The COVAX AMC will partially cover the cost of vaccine procurement for the 92 countries, which include all economies with gross national income or GNI, per capita figure below $4,000 and the other countries that qualified for assistance from World Bank International Development Association or IDE. Maldives officially commenced its rollout on the 1st after receiving a donation of 100,000 doses of the Covishield vaccine from the Indian government. An additional donation of 100,000 doses was granted on February 20th. According to the Health Protection Agency or HTA, a total of 151,643 individuals in Maldives have been immunized of 7. After a long period of recording low numbers towards the end of 2020, Maldives is now experiencing its third wave of the pandemic with the introduction of the United Kingdom's highly contagious virus variant. Currently, the island nation records a total of 20,794 virus cases, of which 2,599 are active cases, in addition to 18,124 recoveries and 64 deaths. And that's my quick update from Maldives. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Steffi. You stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Alma. See you soon. And reporting live from Maldives, this is Stephanie Juan, and we live in interesting times.
And let's get the latest weather update in Thailand. And joining us live is Faye Barta. Hello, Faye.
Good afternoon to you, Eliana. Yes, the weather update here in Thailand. The Thailand Meteorological Department forecasts that upper region will experience hot to very hot with haze in daytime, with temperature ranging from 34 to 40 degrees Celsius, while lower north and the northeast, the central region where Bangkok is at and its vicinity, and the east will experience hot weather with temperature ranging from 37 to 39 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, in the south or the east coast, where the beautiful beaches of Phuket and Krabi line up, it will be partly cloudy with isolated thunder showers in 10% of the area, with temperature lows of 22 to 25 degrees, highs of 32 to 35 degrees Celsius, waves a meter high and over 1 meter during the thunder showers. And Aliana, you know, here in Thailand, it is actually a common joke for the locals here. If you ask them how many seasons that they have here in Thailand, they would actually answer you 3 seasons. They have the hot, the hotter and the hottest. Now, this is just a quick tips for everybody staying here in Thailand. They should avoid outdoor activities in peak hours of high temperatures, and they can wear sunscreen with an SPF of 15 and above, and wear loose clothes, and of course drink plenty of water, and so for them to stay hydrated. And this is just a quick fun fact for everybody. Eliana, when you come here in Thailand, so like for example in the Philippines or there in Vietnam, when they want to visit here in Thailand, when they feel hot or when the weather is hot, they can just say Ron Ma. Ron means hot and Ma means very. So when you put them together, you're going to say very hot. Back to you, Eliana.
All right, thank you for your weather updates and your tips, Faye. Hoping to see you there soon in Thailand. Stay safe and stay healthy.
You too, stay healthy also. This is Faye Barter reporting here in Thailand. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Faye. Malaysia is to buy additional doses of Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine. Joining us live is Myrna Soriano. Hello, Myrna.
Hi, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Yes, for the latest news, in the country's fight against COVID-19, Malaysia's Science Minister Khairi Jamaluddin has announced the buying of additional Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines on Monday, March 8th. The buying will bring the total secured vaccines to 32 million, which is enough to cover half of the country's population. In a virtual press conference, the minister has said that all of the Pfizer vaccines secured so far are expected to be delivered by this year. The minister also said that Malaysia is considering to drop the negotiations to procure a single-dose vaccine from U.S. pharmaceutical firm Johnson & Johnson in favor of a deal with Chinese company CanSino Biologics, which also requires only one dose, according to the report of todayonline.com. The minister said, unquote, "This is a better option for us compared to Johnson & Johnson, where supplies are expected to arrive only in the fourth quarter of the year," end of quote. According to the same online source, aside from the supply agreement with Pfizer-BioNTech, the country has also reached a deal with Britain's AstraZeneca, Russia's Gamaleya Research Institute, and China's Sinovac Biotech and CanSino. Meanwhile, Malaysia has recorded its lowest COVID-19 case for 2021, with only 1,529 new infections on Monday, March 8th. The record has marked the third day of having daily cases less than 2,000. The country's Director General of Health, Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, has posted in his social media account the number of new cases and its breakdown by states. In his post, Selangor has led the number of infections with 726 cases, followed by Sarawak with 252 and Johor with 120. On Monday, Malaysia has also recorded its 12th straight day that recoveries have outnumbered new infections, with 2,076 patients having recovered in the past 24 hours. And that's the latest news today in Malaysia. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Myrna. Looking forward to more updates coming out of Malaysia. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alma. And reporting live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Myrna Soriano. We live in interesting times.
Vietnam will receive 5.657 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines by the end of April, according to the Ministry of Health. Let's watch this. The figure includes 4,177,000 million doses of COVAX-funded AstraZeneca vaccine and 1.48 million other doses ordered from AstraZeneca company. Of the 1.48 million doses, 1,373,800 doses are expected to arrive on March 25, while the rest is slated to arrive in April. Vietnam received the very first batch of 117,600 doses of Oxford AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine on February 24. The nation started administering the vaccine to frontline workers on March 8 at Hanoi-based National Hospital for Tropical Diseases, Ho Chi Minh City-based Hospital for Tropical Diseases, Medical Center and Kim San Medical Center in the northern province of Hai Duong, the biggest COVID-19 hotspot in Vietnam.
Administration or the CCSA hinted that all COVID-19 restrictions may be lifted in October if all sectors continue to cooperate with the government in its containment efforts. Now, after more than a year of costly restrictions, the ministry said among the major requirements for reopening the country was the public sector's readiness to resume normal life. CCSA Assistant Spokeswoman Apisamay Sri Srangson praised officials in Samut Sakhon, the epicenter of a recent wave of infection, saying they had been performing in containing the virus and continued to be highly compliant with the safety control protocols. She said as part of the reopening proposal, the CCSA will consider upgrading Samut Sakhon from a maximum control area to an area on high alert for COVID-19. She also said that the last day of preparing to implement the so-called bubble and seal COVID-19 measures was yesterday, and under these measures, factories which provide on-site accommodation for workers will be sealed, meaning employees cannot leave the grounds. Workers from factories that don't offer on-site dormitories and sleep elsewhere will have to adhere to a bubble approach. Their movements will be strictly monitored, and officials may be required to deliver their food and other essentials so they have no reason to leave their dormitories.
Health experts on Wednesday clarified that getting a vaccine passport after having been inoculated is not a guarantee that an individual will not spread or get infected with the COVID-19 anymore. In a Laging Handa briefing on Wednesday, Dr. Anna Ong Lim, a member of the Department of Health Technical Advisory Group, said vaccine passports will merely serve as a record that an individual has been vaccinated. Meanwhile, Dr. John Wong, a member of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases Technical Working Group on Data Analytics, said vaccine passports will be required mostly by businesses such as airline companies before allowing people inside their establishments. Let's listen to this.
Siguro yung ganung klaseng tanong, ang premise niyan is pag nakapagbigay ka ng proof na nabakunahan ka na, hindi ka na manghahawa or hindi ka mahahawaan. And in fact, wala pa tayong ganung klaseng information. So at the most, yung proof ng vaccination will be similar to yung mga ginagamit ng seaman, yung mga seaman's pass, yung mga yellow card nila dati na nagpapatunay na meron silang yellow fever vaccination at saka yung iba pang mga hinahanap, no? Para dun sa mga particular na bansa na pinupuntahan nila. Record lang siya pero hindi ibig sabihin na totally hindi na siya mahahawaan or manghahawa pa.
So, in vaccination passports will be required mostly by businesses, no? Airline companies, no? Or business establishments before they allow people inside, no? Pero it will take a while, no, before the Philippines reaches that stage, no, where we'll be able to say na somebody with a vaccination passport, no, will not be able to transmit to other people. It will be safe to use those facilities.
Meanwhile, Wong said the Philippine Genome Center has detected several cases of both the UK and South Africa variant of the virus that causes COVID-19, noting that the UK variant was known to have increased transmissibility, while the South Africa variant is supposed to be resistant against vaccines. He said the current surge of new cases of COVID-19 in the country may be caused by the UK variant, and over half of all cases in the National Capital Region gets infected with the UK variant. He said there may be an increase of 9 times more cases after a month.
Variant. The South African variant makes the virus more resistant to the vaccine, but does not increase transmissibility. In UK variant increases transmissibility, no? So maybe part of the surge that we're experiencing now is due to the UK variant.
sinusubaybayan pa natin yung impact ng mga variants sa iba't ibang klaseng bakuna. And pwede natin gamitin yung information na nanggagaling sa ibang bansa para ma-gauge kung ano ba ang change dun sa efficacy na tinatawag. Pero having said that, dapat din tandaan na sa ngayon kasi kung hindi ka pa nababakunahan, syempre wala kang proteksyon. Zero ang iyong level of protection. So kahit ano pang bakuna ang matanggap mo, kahit sabihin pa natin na medyo bumaba ang bisa niyan, meron pa rin kaysa sa zero kung hindi ka nagpabakuna.
In a related news, World Health Organization Emergencies Chief Dr. Michael Ryan said vaccine passports for COVID-19 should not be used for international travel because he said, quote, there are real practical and ethical considerations for countries considering using vaccine certification as a condition for travel. Let's listen in.
The policy issue, there is an issue here around how we would certify vaccination. The use of certification of vaccination as a requirement for travel is not advised because, quite simply, vaccination is just not available enough around the world, and is not available certainly on an equitable basis. But I think there are real practical and ethical considerations as well that countries will have to address, because if access to vaccine is inequitous, then inequity and unfairness can be further branded into the system if we continue to make decisions on what people can and can't do, where they can and can't go on the basis of being vaccinated, when being vaccinated itself is not something that everyone has equal access to. And there are also people who, for whatever reason, cannot be vaccinated or do not wish to be vaccinated. So this is a very important societal discussion. I think we need to be very careful.
ASEAN in Focus will be back after a short break.
Totoo ang kasabihang may pera sa basura, lalo na kung magagawa ang iba't ibang bagay mula sa mga recyclable material na inaakala ng iba na itatapon na. May ilang barangay sa bansa ang nagre-recycle ng basura at makikita ang iba't ibang bagay na gawa sa basura. Mga dekorasyon sa bahay, sa mga proyektong ito, nagiging malinis ang kapaligiran bukod sa mayroon pang pagkakakitaan.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez said cooperatives have been a staunch partner of the agency in helping micro and small entrepreneurs grow their businesses. At the 31st anniversary of the Cooperative Development Authority, or the CDA, on Wednesday, Lopez said even before CDA was not an attached agency of DTI, it has been a partner in delivering government services to small-scale businesses, particularly in the rural areas. He added the DTI partners with cooperatives to reach micro and small entrepreneurs for them to avail the department's microfinancing program and shared service facility program.
Alam niyo po, ang CDA at ang DTI, kahit hindi pa po siya aligned or under sa Department of Trade and Industry, napakalapit na po ang partnership ng CDA at ang cooperativism at saka ang DTI. Ang CDA po ang talagang kapartner ho ng DTI sa maraming programa nito. Unang-una na, sasabihin ko na rin, yung pagdating ho sa pagpapautang, microfinancing. Yung amin pong unang programa na pinasok po ng Small Business Corporation. Yung pong programa ni Pangulong Duterte na inumpisahan na panlaban sa 5-6. Naalala niyo yon. Yun ang unang programa bago nagkaroon tayo ng CARES program under the pandemic. Ay meron ho tayong microfinancing na nagpapautang sa mga micro, small, sa mga palengke, sa lahat ng mga cooperative members. At yan pong pondo na yan, pinapadaan natin sa mga cooperatives. Kasama po ang cooperatives katulad ng mga microfinancial institutions. Nakapartner po natin sa pagpapautang ng microfinancing loans. Ang DTI, walang budget yan pagdating sa municipality at lalo na sa barangay level. Ang amin pong paraan para makaabot talaga sa grassroots ay ang mga cooperatives at sa tulong ng CDA. Ang DTI organization po hanggang probinsya lamang. Pero dahil sa ating partnership with the cooperatives, malayo ho ang naabot ng DTI. Hanggang ngayon po, pagbibigay ng livelihood programs, yung mga livelihood grants, pagdating sa mga mahihirap na kababayan natin na gustong magkaroon ng hanap buhay.
Meanwhile, the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, reported that almost 500,000 overseas Filipino workers who were displaced by the pandemic have already been assisted by the government and are now in their home provinces. Now, OWA Administrator Hans Leo Kakdak also reported that at present there are some 10,000 OFWs that are in 150 hotel facilities who are waiting for their scheduled transportation back to their provinces. He also said the government is spending 30,000 pesos a day based on the estimated maximum cost of hotel accommodation per night at 3,000 pesos. Take a look.
As of today, tumatayo sa 470,000. 470,000, approaching the 500,000 mark na ang napauwi sa kanilang mga home regions ng OFWs. Of course, I need to say na nandiyan ang Dole OWA, but it's also an interagency effort. DFA, DOTR, CAAP, PCG, LTRFB dahil doon nga sa mga bus, mga papuntang Luzon na OFWs, and DOH, BOQ, MIAA, airport, and then yung DILG, and then of course yung ating kapulisan at AFP at Department of National Defense. So kailangan ko silang banggitin lahat para malinaw sa lahat na this is really a one government approach as mandated by the President. I can give you at least estimate, no? Ang maximum cost natin per night sa isang hotel is around 3,000 pesos. It could be less, no? Depende sa klase ng hotel. So kung 5-star yan, maximum most likely of 3,000 pesos a night. And then kung lesser degree than 5-star, less than 3,000 pesos. And then we have around 10,000 OFWs right now. So ang projected daily cost niyan, kung mga 3,000 pesos times 10,000, ilan yun, Mayen?
Kakdak also said the government continues to provide assistance to returning OFWs, which include free swab testing, food and accommodation, and transportation to their own regions. The government started repatriating OFWs affected by the pandemic in May last year.
A bus carrying dozens of pilgrims plunged down a steep ravine on Indonesia's Java Island, killing at least 27 people, including junior high school students, authorities said Thursday. The bus carrying 66 passengers was traveling on a winding, poorly lit road when it plunged down the 20-meter ravine, authorities said. The driver and teenage passengers were among the dead, while 39 survived the accident. Bandung Rescue Agency official Mamang Fatmono said the fatalities are a mix of children and adults. Authorities said they were probing the accident's cause. The bus was returning to the town of Subang from a religious pilgrimage site in West Java. Traffic accidents are common in the Southeast Asian archipelago, where vehicles are often old and poorly maintained and road rules regularly flouted. In late 2019, at least 35 people were killed when a bus plunged into a ravine on the island of Sumatra.
In other news, Vietnam's Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc and his counterparts from Cambodia and Laos held a virtual summit on Wednesday to discuss ways to consolidate cooperation between and among the three countries. Now, the PMs, or the Prime Ministers, vowed to continue sustaining the efficiency of the existing cooperation mechanisms accelerating exchanges between border provinces, effectively implementing border management agreements, fostering coordination in ensuring security along the shared border line, and combating transnational crime. They pledged to step up the implementation of the tripartite economic connectivity plan through 2030, focusing on mobilizing resources from development partners for their transport projects like Hanoi-Vientiane Expressway, Vientiane-Vung Ang Railway, and HCMC Phnom Penh Railway. The three countries agreed to boost construction of border markets, goods distribution centers, and commercial warehouses, facilitate customs clearance of goods and people through border gates.
An aid to humanity recently held in Phuket, Thailand. Here's Novi Kawile for the details.
Independent island of Phuket. In view of the recent situation of the world, the people are continuously suffering from poverty and lack of livelihood due to COVID-19. Many have lost their jobs and are confined in their homes with nowhere to go. Among those greatly affected by the shutting down of the world is the tourism-dependent island of Phuket in Thailand. With a sincere concern for the plight of Filipinos affected by the pandemic, the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ, through the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, brought prompt aid to church members in Phuket, Thailand. The Lingap sa Mamamayan or Aid to Humanity was held on February 23 and was greatly appreciated by the members of the church. The aid was given mainly to the ones who have lost their jobs since March of 2020. These are mostly hotel employees whose hotels have had to close because there are no more tourists. Others are in the entertainment industry, such as singers and bands. They are truly grateful for the help extended by the church through the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. And despite the difficulty, they are remaining hopeful in the situation. They are already gearing up and expecting that some hotels are already open mid this year.
Kami pong mga kapatid sa lokal ng Phuket, distrito ng Thailand, ay nagpapasalamat sa puso sa ating pinakamamahal na kapatid ni Lord Limonal, sapagkat halos isang taon na walang hanap buhay ang mga kapatid. Nakatanggap kami ng pinansyal na tulong galing sa ating pinakamamahal na kapatid. Maraming salamat po, kapatid na Edward Limonal. Kami po ay nangangako patuloy na magpapasakot sa inyo. Patuloy na dadalo ng pagsamba. Maraming salamat po.
Reporting from Phuket, Thailand, I'm Novi Kawile. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Novi. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres toured the UNICEF installation to draw attention to the ongoing tragedy of school closures due to COVID-19 lockdowns. Schools for more than 168 million children globally have been completely closed for almost an entire year due to lockdowns, according to new data released by UNICEF. Let's take a look.
One of the most dramatic consequences of the COVID has been the terrible suffering of children and families because of children that cannot attend school. Many, fortunately, had the chance to do it with virtual means, but for the poorest populations without internet connection, we have millions of people out of school, and that is a tragedy for them, a tragedy for their countries, a tragedy for the future of humankind.
Thank you, Eliana, for joining me today. You have a great day. Safe.
Thank you so much. Stay safe. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. I'm Eliana Faye Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon at inspirasyon ang hapon mo sa Afternoon Power. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Sasabay sa inyong tanghalian ang inyong Happy Time Barkada at 12 noon. Alamin ang mga pangyayari sa ASEAN nations, ASEAN in Focus at 2 p.m. Ang inyong paboritong awit komentaryo kasama si Leo Obligar sa Piskante ng Bayan. At mga balita sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa, hatid sa atin sa Aguila Probinsya. Siksik ang hapon mo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, ang inyong Afternoon Power sa Net25.
Hi, Althea.
Anong ginagawa mo dito?
Diba, you said yes to lunch?
Yang kapatid ko, mahal na mahal ko yan. Kapag masaya siya, marami siya naiisip na business strategy. Kaya gusto ko, lagi siyang masaya.
Paano ba siyang masaya?
Lalo ngayon, kasama sila ng kapatid mo. Kung mapapanatili ng kapatid mo ng masaya ang kapatid ko, done deal na ang clothing brand mo.
Binibenta mo ang kapatid mo. Ano? Para makuha mo ang investment ni Stefan?
Dalaga si Althea. Pinata si Adonis. Kapag nagkagustuhan sila, everybody's happy.
Pero wag na wag mong isusugal ang puso ng kapatid mo, Odette. Binabalaan kita!
Dear Althea, remembering your wonderful dad and wishing you comfort from Benedict.
Dear Benedict, thank you for reaching out at this difficult time.